All right, and welcome back to the Order of the Shattered Sigil for tonight's episode 2. We have reprising their roles from the first episode. Alan with OpIon, Dave with Harold, and Justin with Johnny 5. And our Dragonborn Barbarian is off sick tonight with some kind of terrible flu. So hopefully Dragonborns handle it better than adult men do. Anywho, we're going to get underway.
Your shift's nearly over, don't pick up the phone. There's a lot in the tavern, and it calls you home. And the boy that you were is the man that you'll be when you take up your sword and adventure with me. Adventure with me. So lay down your tools, pick up your sword. You don't need no money, just walk out the door. As the mist fall around us, will you answer the call? And they won't even notice that you left at all.
And we catch up with our players, our party, in the office of Lord Aric Volti, their handler for the Order of the Shattered Sigil, about a week after the events of the first episode, where they successfully uncovered members of a cult behind the murder of a masked Lord of Waterdeep. And sadly, the witness that they were able to apprehend was killed in custody. Aric has called our adventurers together again with a new mission today. And so it's early morning, and it was raining outside when you entered the Bastion Hall of Records separately over the last hour or so. And each of you followed the gnome clerk who led you through winding corridors and secret pathways to the offices of the sigil. And you can still hear the sound of rain hitting the windows of the tower. And you can hear in the distance the bells of a clock tower nearby striking an early morning hour. And when you enter Aric's office, you find Aric standing at his desk and looking over a series of charts and sealed papers and envelopes of various kinds. He doesn't turn to you initially, but hearing the door open, his head inclines just a fraction, and he keeps going through his papers for just a moment. As you're accustomed to expect, there are the usual accoutrement of a visit, and he seems to have known exactly what you're prepared for. And there's some varied sort of fruits and a glass of what appears to be a rosé wine, and a scroll of some interesting factoids, just the little tidbits that you guys like to receive. Eventually he turns to you and says, "A bit of a different task for you today. We're having some trouble with the Shark's Maw. I guess you would call them pirates, although they're not the typical pirates that we've had to deal with in the recent past. Our trade is bleeding. We've had a number of important vessels vanish between Waterdeep and Neverwinter. Convoys that were well armed and well protected, limping home with their crews, traumatized and shattered. The Navy, the Lord's Alliance, has attempted to bring an end to this, and each time they seem to be able to get away. And a couple of times they've made some of our most advanced ships look like fools." He says, he picks up a letter, one of the letters on his desk, and holds it up to emphasize what he's saying. He says, "This letter is from a Captain Mellor, a military officer of some repute. He was tasked several months ago with striking down the flagship of the Sharkmoor. Not only did they resoundingly defeat him and his crew at the time, but by the time he returned home, his family had been taken from his house as a form of a message. So this group obviously has very significant reach, and they seem to be very cutthroat in their activities. So through roundabout means, we've been asked if we can succeed where the military has not been able to. And so I am going to send you three to meet with an old friend of mine, a lady named Rena Voss, who has a ship we sometimes use for various missions. And she will take you wherever you want to go and help you in tracking down and ending this threat, bringing the leader of the group to justice, disabling the flagship, whatever you need to do to stop their operations. And he looks around at you to see if you actually have particular questions or points of clarity. And he hands out some bits and pieces of dossier of information, including some of the various letters and witness statements that I had shared with you guys before the game.
Howard sifts through the dossiers and then goes, so just because some military bigwig has failed, we are now cleaning up after his mess?
Well, yes, is the short answer. The Admiralty doesn't have the stomach to continue to fight what they perceive as a losing battle against piracy. And politically, at the moment, there is a strong desire not to lose any more official resources in chasing down this group. And I think it is hoped that a more precise instrument such as yourselves might succeed where the blunt instrument of the Navy has failed.
Harold rolls his eyes and takes a sip of his wine.
It's only pirates, Harold. I believe that you'll be fine.
I believe this kind of work is beneath me. And he goes back to sipping his wine out of the chipped mug. The mug wasn't chipped. He just chipped it in between because it was bored.
Has there been any analysis of the perpetrators in the kidnapping and or assassination of Captain Mellor's family? Perhaps there are some leads on that front.
There is one person who's been identified consistently in reports about the Sharkmoor's shoreside dealings. Their quartermaster has been identified as a dwarven woman who the description was in amongst the various documents that we circulated. So I've got that there for you guys. I'll pull that back up in a second. But yeah, she's the only person that we've been able to identify as part of the Moor, and she's likely the person who arranged the kidnapping.
So they need a quartermaster. Could we just arrest this dwarven woman and then just replace her?
It's possible that maybe one avenue is to get yourselves aboard as new recruits or valuable assets, and potentially taking down this quartermaster is one pathway to make a vacancy.
Johnny 5, could you please provide an analysis?
A well-organized and well-armed team operating with internal knowledge of the comings and goings of mercantile craft between Waterdeep and Neverwinter have been operating and preying upon shipping. It is unclear if they are correction. It appears that they are striking always under fog with knowledge of the local terrain. Therefore, they have a base of operations nearby a particular area to be able to operate in the fog. They will likely also have local contacts who know of the comings and goings and the exact times of the ships leaving so that they can coordinate their ambushes.
Okay. And OpIon, what are your thoughts? Do you think we should act as bait, or do you think we should try to infiltrate?
I think laying a trap would probably be best. I think we should be bait.
Okay.
I think
Oh.
anyone this organized would have a trusted crew already, but we know the general location where these pirates are operating, so we just need to provide a valuable target and leave the rest up to them.
Okay.
There is a
And
flaw
you're-
with us acting as bait, given that they appear to know the contents of ships' cargo as well as their travel routes and the times of departure. There are almost certainly spies within the shipping organizations who would be aware of any ambush, who would likely place ourselves in unnecessary jeopardy.
So that's 1-for-1. A ship can't function without a good quartermaster. A good quartermaster is worth their weight in gold. Why don't we try to incapacitate this quartermaster so that makes them a little bit desperate for a ship, especially if there's a big heist coming up for them.
Should we make it look like an accident?
An accident, maybe someone got drunk and then pinched a local guard. Something, and either way, it wouldn't be too hard to make it implausible, but they will need a quartermaster for their leg of the journey. And
Could we find,
yes, Johnny Boy?
if we gain access to the quartermaster's effects and place of residence, we might find more clues as to where they're shipping funds as well as supplies.
True. And also, I do have old contacts in the guild that could vouch for us if we need to go undercover. How about, why don't we set it? Okay, if everyone is open to it, why don't we set a trap? Everyone in agreement say aye. Everyone in disagreement say nay.
Aye.
Arik smiles wryly at you. So Percy is waiting with the carriage downstairs.
I suspect our employer has already set a course of action for us.
Okay.
I have arranged a contact and a boat. How you bring about the end of this pirate organization is entirely up to you and your creative ends. I'm just here to enjoyably read the after action reports.
Let's go. Sorry. Yes, OpIon?
When is the ship meant to leave with this quartermaster? Perhaps we can get a bit more information from this dwarven woman while we're in.
She hasn't been seen in the last couple of days, but it's likely that the people on the docks and Renner, the captain of our ship, will have more information.
Okay. Let's go let's go to the docks, talk with the captain. If the lead pans out, we can then figure out where to go from there. How does that sound?
A fine plan. May I also suggest we stop by the market quarters to acquire goggles? I understand that your photoreceptors are not immune to this flash powder that was used on each and every one of those encounters by the pirates.
Solid analysis. Clearly, it seems that Russ hasn't got into your circuitry just yet. We'll make a fine rogue out of you just soon. All right.
Do we know the name
Sorry,
of Captain Renner's ship where we are to meet?
Yeah, the ship is called the Storm Chaser.
Storm Chaser. All right. Shall we go downstairs to the carriage?
Yeah, so you're met at the doors to the Bastion Hall of Records by a finely attired goblin who's wearing the attire almost of a royal footman, and he bows very politely, seeing each of you. Welcome, my lords. Wonderful to see you again. Good to be working with you. I'm very pleased that we were able to have success on our last adventure. And he opens the door to the carriage and waves you inside. Just sitting on the cushions, you find 3 pairs of goggles, which he goes on to explain provide some rudimentary protection against attempts to blind you, so you have advantage on saving throws to resist blindness. And also, if you don't have dark vision, then they provide for 60 feet of dark vision. They don't require attunement. We'll just remember that you guys have got those with you. And as you take your seats in the carriage, he climbs atop the carriage, and with what you're getting used to as his traditional lack of due care and attention, pulls the carriage out at quite high speed around the nearest corner. And it's about a 15-minute journey to the docks. And when you arrive at the docks, the carriage calls to a stop, and you hear Percy dismount the carriage, and you hear him talking to a female voice just outside, and the voices become they're loud, a bit argumentative, and then eventually the voices stop, and the door to the carriage opens, and what on the docks is a halfling woman with short, close-cropped red hair. She's dirty, wearing overalls, and looks to be, your initial gut feeling is street urchin or lifelong dock worker, someone down on them, and generally not of particularly high social class. And she's engaged or appears to have been engaged in a conversation with Percy, and Percy is now standing with his arms crossed and looking fairly dour. And there's a large green chest that's been delivered just in front of the carriage. And you can hear Percy muttering something about riffraff, salt water in his upholstery, and he's just generally very standoffish. And the halfling woman looks up at you as you get out of the carriage and says, "This is a special delivery from the Storm Chaser." And she points at the chest and waves you on.
Does the chest have breathing holes on it?
It does not. It appears to be a fairly well-made large box. It's it could certainly fit a medium sort of humanoid inside it. It's fairly substantial, and it's this just unusual green color, but with brassy features and an obvious large sort of lock on the front of it.
Okay. And before she leaves, Howard goes, "Good morrow, sortie. What's in the chest?"
Oh, she's not going anywhere. Because it's a gift from the crew, and I was just bid deliver it to you, and then once you're happy with you've dealt with the contents, to take you onto the ship.
Okay. Harold approaches the chest gingerly and then tries to open it.
Okay, it's locked.
Harold looks at the quartermaster, looks at the halfling and goes, "Really? Locked?" And whips out his thieves' tools.
She smiles. She says, "I'm led to believe that a simple lock shouldn't slow you down, Mr. Tuggins."
Okay, so Harold, is it sleight of hand check?
Yes.
All right.
With +1 because of your tools.
Yes. Okay. All right. Let's do that. Okay, that's an 11. That's not great. Does proficiency with these tools does anything else?
Yeah. Are you proficient with sleight of hand as well?
Yes.
Yeah. So it'll be exactly the same. It should be the same outcome.
Yep. Sure. Okay.
But you find it's a big clunky sort of lock. So an 11 actually it takes you a bit longer than everyone's accustomed to you taking, but you eventually do manage to open the chest. You just take a private point of pride damage in terms of how long it took you to open. And as you
Oh,
open the
nice.
chest, what did you guys do with the goggles? Did everyone just pocket them, or did anyone put them on?
Fionn would have had them just on top of the head, waiting until it's an appropriate time to use them.
Johnny 5 would have immediately put his on.
Harold would have pocketed his too, but he did not. He didn't want to give away his current giveaway himself by wearing the goggles straight away.
Okay. Roll a dexterity saving throw, Harold.
That's a 13.
You are blinded as a flash of light explodes from the opening chest and pushes you back almost a few feet from where you were. I was just saying you guys have come out of the thing here, but Harold was head deep in the chest opening it, so he caught the flash sang in all of its glory. You are blinded for 1d4 turns. 2. Okay. And I'm going to get you guys to roll initiative just purely so that we can keep track of the order of things here.
Harold got an 8.
Johnny 5 is a 15. OpIon is a 7. Okay. Johnny, you see this bright light erupt from the chest as just as you were beginning to perhaps advise your colleague of the need for caution in opening unattended packages left on the dockside. You find that you are a second or two too late with the advice, and Harold is staggering backwards, covering his eyes, muttering under his breath. But Johnny sees a pair of crystals that are glowing, a purple and a green crystal within this chest, and a complicated sort of clockwork mechanism that seems to be moving them slowly towards each other. And as you watch them moving towards each other, as they get closer and closer, there's this increasing the loud humming noise that almost becomes deafening the closer these two objects become. And they get pushed closer and closer together, and little sparks starting to emanate from both of the gems as little arcs of energy start to bounce between them. And you get the feeling that it would be inadvisable to let the two gems come in contact with each other.
How are they moving?
So they're both held in sort of metal clamps, and then a clockwork mechanism of gears and stuff is slowly pushing them together. You can hear out of the Harold, because you can't see, you hear out of your periphery the halfling woman laugh and clap her hands.
Just pirates, he said. Just goddamn pirates.
Fionn is going to bring his newly acquired very fancy staff and try and wedge it between the two crystals and try and brace against them and prevent them from moving closer, possibly clogging the clockwork mechanism.
Yeah. You can roll strength or dexterity.
I don't mind. Dex is probably a bit better. +2. He uses leverage with his white staff and kind of pokes it in the mechanism and rests it against one of the crystals as well.
Okay. So with the 17, you manage to wedge the staff in there, and the gears start to spin harder, and you hear the sounds of the machine straining just for a moment, and that it's paused, that you've stopped them coming together, or certainly you've held it off for a moment.
For a time. Johnny, perhaps your analytical mind can make better sense of the mechanisms moving this device.
Should we not ensure that this is not part of some greater distraction while ambushes get into position around us?
Fionn is keeping the strain on the staff and says, Johnny, I trust you to look out as you do best.
Johnny 5 is going to look out and see if there's any ambushes coming up, or...
Make a perception check. With a 10, you look around and you can see there are a couple of crew members from the ship still working on the dock who seem completely nonplussed by what's going on over here, and no one else that you can see around you or nearby, just the halfling and Percy, who has now started to back away and shelter behind the carriage. And you actually, at this point, you hear his voice pitch. It's already a bit high-pitched and whiny, but you hear his voice cast across the alleyway at you, and he says, "Just to remind you, gentlemen, that this carriage is a rolling munitions depot. If that thing is explosive, we are all in very big trouble."
If you would like to recall what Percy and the halfling, what was the tone that Percy was having this conversation with the halfling? It was worried, or was it dismissive?
It sounded a bit argumentative. You heard Percy becoming argumentative and then eventually giving up on an argument.
If Johnny Five has time, he's going to study the device. Maybe there's something his knowledge of Arcana will help him with in discerning how it works and hence how to diffuse it.
Yeah, you can roll investigation or Arcana.
Nope.
It's because he was distracted looking around, and he comes back and has a glance at the device. And what you can make out is that there seems to be the mechanism that's bringing these two pieces of crystal closer together. It seems quite complicated, but you understand that whatever is going to happen is driven by the contact of the two gems. I guess stopping the device would require removing one of the gems or stopping the mechanism somehow. Doesn't seem to be particularly magical. It just seems to be a mechanical device. And at this point, the grinding noise from the wheel starts to increase. And OpIon, make another strength or athletics if you're proficient.
Yeah, I'm gonna hark back to when I was in the Northlands in my Goliath barbarian tribe and channel my inner strength, which I do with advantage to my heritage. That's a 14. At this time, I'm also going to lower the goggles from my forehead down over my eyes. And I'd like to, leaving the staff in place, pull out the crowbar from my equipment and see if I can wedge one of the crystals out of their sockets.
Okay. So your staff is slowly pushed out by the cog as whatever mechanism is driving this seems to change gear ratios almost. Not that's a common understood phenomenon in the Forgotten Realms, and it seems to start to overpower you almost. So the staff is no longer slowing the crystals down again, and you reach in with a crowbar to try and remove one. So you can roll again strength, athletics, or dex, sleight of hand if you've got both proficiencies.
I do have dex, sleight of hand. I'm just going to stick with channeling my inner Goliath with advantage on the strength or athletics checks with the crowbar. 17 straight roll.
Okay. With the 17, the green crystal on the left-hand side starts to shift out of its mounting. It seems to come loose, but it's not completely free of the mechanism. And you guys watch as the other crystal seems to move faster in response to this attempt to bring the crystals or to break the device. About this time, Harold, your vision starts to clear because that would be 2 rounds. So it's only been 12 seconds.
Okay. Harold starts like almost kind of like cleaning his eyes and is like, shouldn't have taken this fucking job. And then he pulls his goggles down, makes his way to the chest, and surveys things. He's going to try, he's based on what he's heard everyone say about he has been able to understand in the 12 seconds that the crystals are coming together and he needs to stop it.
I think that, let's say that you guys have managed to communicate effectively about that in the 12 seconds that this has been going on. I'm prepared to give you that you're able to work out roughly what's going on, or at least you can see when your vision clears that OpIon is prying one of the crystals apart, and his staff is jammed in between the two crystals, and
So I
they're all
guess-
bent around the device.
Harold's aware that if this thing explodes, everyone's probably going to die. So he decides, I think. So what he decides to do is that he takes one of his bags of ball bearings and empties it into the chest, hoping that all, like, out of the 500 that he's putting in, some of them will jam the machinery and it will just come to a stop.
Okay. So you tip all these ball bearings in, and they filter into and around the machinery and the device. Roll a d20. Just roll a d20. There's not a skill associated with this.
Not really at all, no. This is just him just improvising.
This is just, yep.
Let's see, what stats do I have a +0 to? Oh no, I can just draw a straight d20, sweet. Flat 12.
Okay. So again, the machinery grinds down and slows down again, and you get the impression that for at least a few seconds you've stopped the progress of the crystals, which are now coming closer and closer together. Johnny,
Are there any buckets of pitch or tar as one might use to repair a ship hull?
with your 10 perception check, you didn't see anything close by. You could certainly, there are ships docked 90 feet in either direction. You could attempt to go and run to one, but you may not make it there in time.
Harold just used his bonus action and to pour the ball bearings in it as part of his fast hands utilize an object bonus action. So still has an action left. Could he try to use his thieves tool to help loosen the crystal that OpIon is pulling out, so that way it comes off?
Yeah, so you guys are working together. You can roll sleight of hand with advantage.
Okay. See, let's hope this is the better one than last time. Advantage, and let's go. Hey, that 20 plus 6, 26.
You get the pick underneath this little crystal, and as OpIon's crowbar, he leaves on his crowbar, and you release the mechanism, it pops this green gem free, and it goes flying across the alleyway, and the machinery immediately stops. The cogs stop spinning, and then you hear a little tune start to play from the base of this chest, like a jaunty little circus tune. And it plays a few bars of this jaunty tune like it was a music box, and then stops. And the halfling woman, who hasn't left, she's been perched next to the chest the whole time, smiles warmly at you and says, "Well, Arek sent me a good crew. I'm Renner Voss, captain of the Storm Chaser. And this was a little test I like to use for new crew. Welcome aboard."
Harold,
You can hear Percy being apoplectic in the background. Test.
Harold squints his eyes. If I wanted to go do a test, I would have gone back to school. We don't need this kind of crap. We are, why would, we don't, and he's just blubbering, he's furious to think that someone had gotten the better of him.
Renner smiles again. She's obviously got a reasonable amount of enjoyment out of playing this particular game with you. And she says, "If we're going to go and hunt down, I'm going to put my ship and my crew in harm's way to help you hunt down notorious pirates, then I wanted to know who I was dealing with. You guys seem okay."
Howard just goes, "It's just pirates." Just rubbing his temples. "I need to retire." And then he decides to drop it and move on.
Yeah, sorry.
Greetings,
So-
Captain Voss. I trust that now this little test is out of the way, we shall focus on more serious concerns.
Oh yes, come and see the ship, and I'll give you a tour of the ship and introduce you to the crew, and we can talk strategy. She leads you down the docks a ways, and Percy follows with a trunk of, I guess, equipment and stores and things that the sigils provided for the mission. And she takes you down, and you come to it's a moderately sized ship. None of you have got a particularly big naval sort of background, but it's a medium-sized ship. It's not an enormous ship of the line or a big galleon, but sort of moderately sized ship. It looks pristine. It is very stylish and obviously well maintained. And she helps you down again, directs you down a gangway, and you climb aboard. She takes you across the main deck, and it's a three-mast ship, which is probably average for the time. And the deck is covered in cargo boxes and crates and things that are tarped down, and there's crewmen bustling, loading supplies onto the ship. As she shows you around, she takes you up on the top deck, where a wiry, also red-headed halfling is standing by the wheel, and she introduces the helmsman, her brother, Joran. She says, if it floats, then Joran can make it dance. And he gives a polite sort of curtsy almost, and she leads you back along the ship, down one of the ladders into the first lower deck, and you come to a orcish woman, tall, very muscular orc, who is busily chopping and butchering some kind of beast. This is Celia. She's our quartermaster cook, one of our coxswains. She's a jack of all trades, and she looks at you and grunts, and the tour continues on, and eventually you end up back on the top deck of the ship with Renner, having looked around and seen what looks to be a fairly advanced ship and a crew that looks very competent and focused. So Arik has sent you after the Shark's Maw. What's the plan?
We can either attempt to act as bait and pretend to be floundering, incompetent merchants, or we can hunt around the likely cove where they are stationed and based.
Renner listens to you guys talk about this for a few minutes. It talks about your options bouncing around, and mentions the quartermaster, the person that's been identified, the dwarvish woman, and the possibility of infiltrating the crew. And Johnny has talked about or mentions that potentially, or the suspected location of this pirate base, and also the possibility of pretending to be a merchant ship and being targeted. And she just listens just for a few minutes, and other members of her crew, the helmsman, the quartermaster, the bosun who you met, who is a Goliath-looking guy, Merrick, who again is not of many words. They are all part of the conversation. And eventually she says, it sounds like you have three options. The dwarvish woman, we know a little bit of her and her background. She's not been seen ashore in the very recent weeks, but that probably just means that she's due, where we can certainly stake out some of the locations that she's known to adventure. And that's a possibility. And then we can use her to infiltrate the crew, either offer yourselves as potential employees, or take her and try to fill the gap for that crew. we could sail to the location suspected where the base of operations is and attempt to gain access to that and infiltrate or sabotage that. Or we could put word out that we're carrying a valuable cargo and put a fake name of the ship out there and circulate that through some of the local taverns and let news of our journey spread and see if we can lure them into a confrontation with us. I think each of these plans has a reasonable chance of success, but ultimately this is your mission and I'm just here to provide the ship.
Johnny 5 turns towards his two companions. I have neither a flotation device nor can I swim. I would prefer to avoid staying in the water all the time. Perhaps we can try to track down the dwarven intermediary.
I think that would be an appropriate plan. First, plan A is we convince her to let us on board as new crew. Plan B is if she doesn't allow us to go on board, we just kidnap her, get her arrested, and then they'll need a new quartermaster.
Can we not interrogate her, find the location of their base, and then lead an armed force to their base?
That could be plan C, but plan B is more fun.
Ian reminds Harold that he's not very good at playing the part of cunning infiltrator, and he reminds Harold of the last time we tried to interview the old lady, the manor, and he gave up the gig quite easily. So,
Is that Harold looks at OpIon? Was that I who gave up the gig, or you who gave up the gig?
OpIon says I gave up the gig, yeah, so I'll have to take more of a lead from you this time, Harold. I see that you're much more experienced than I am in such things.
And
Harold
this unit is
Sauce.
only fluent in 3 languages, Common Sign Language and Violence. Johnny 5 notes that he does not speak pirate and would make a poor new recruit or infiltrator.
Harold sighs. Very well, let's go for plan C then. Okay.
So you want to find the dwarven woman and interrogate her. Is that the...
OpIon agrees with Johnny that we should try and find the dwarven woman, but as he's mentioned to Harold, his acting skills are probably not quite up to scratch when it comes to pretending that he wants to be the crew. So we'll have to...
Okay. So Renner says, okay, we know of a couple of taverns where this woman, and she is known, at least in the information that you've read, as Drella. Drella is the quartermaster, the dwarven woman. She is known at a number of taverns in the area, in Dockward, and also in various other ports. She is... The only other bit of information that you remember is that she's known to have an unusually strong scent of cloves about her. And she's used a number of different names. And so she's known by a number of aliases in different places. We can stake out the local taverns. I can send some crew to drink and be merry and keep an eye out for her, but I'm not sure when we can expect to see her. We could sail for another port and see if she's made port elsewhere along the coast, somewhere like Luxon, outside of the reach of the Alliance, maybe. But that would be a couple of days of travel, and we might not find her there. Do you prefer to stay close to home, or should we go looking?
I think staying close to home and the resources that we have, the sigil, would be wise. Perhaps we can put into motion a few things. We have keep some people alert on this, but also make rumors that there is a cargo that needs to be sent to...
We can probably arrange for Percy to load several shipments of expensive silks on board your ship. That will add some credence to stories of expensive cargo. Then we can prowl around for anyone taking an interest in the contents of the cargo.
Those are superstitious, cowardly lots. We should, I think, staying close support is for would serve our needs greater.
She nods, and at this point, you look around for Percy, and you find that Percy didn't follow you down the gangplank onto the ship. He's still standing on the dock with his arms folded. And you hear through the little sigil pinned the voice of the goblin. He says, "Oh no, I am not coming up there. This is where my contract ends. It's the shoreline. I don't get wet. No, sorry."
Howard touches his sigil and goes, "You don't need to get wet. Just make sure you can load some expensive looking cargo onto this ship as bait."
It will, yes, okay. Will it be, we just loaning some expensive cargo? Will it be returned?
Howard just stays, there's a long pause, and Howard goes, "That is the intention."
Him sigh over the message spell. It's just a long, drawn-out sigh, and you see him trundle back to the carriage to make some arrangements to organize some kind of valuable cargo for you.
If the cargo could contain imprisoned water elementals or something else unpleasant, that would be nice. But I suppose that's outside of our budget.
The cargo doesn't even need to be expensive, just the top layer of the cargo needs to be expensive. Everything underneath could just be wood or paper.
So he trundles off to organize some cargo, and Renner says, "I'll have some crew members speak loudly in the local taverns about an important, urgent mission and a valuable cargo and our lackadaisical security, and we'll see what happens, and we'll keep an eye out for this Drella in the places that she's known to frequent."
If all else fails and we end up going to sea, I noted in the reports that the pirates always attacked under cover of fog. Perhaps there is some magical or mechanical way we can bypass the fog to get early warning of the attackers.
She nods and looks at her brother, who's the helmsman, and he looks serious, but he cracks a little lopsided smile. He says, "I think we have it handled. The fog has been described as unnatural fog, and if it's an illusion, then we will be able to see through it, and so it shouldn't cause us any troubles. This ship has more than a few surprises up its sleeve."
And Howard turns to OpIon. "Just in case it is real fog, OpIon, any chance you can cast Gust of Wind?"
There is very little chance I can cast Gust of Wind at the moment, I'm afraid.
Howard sighs, and he does the same sigh that Percy did. He goes, "Okay,
It's just pirates.
it's just pirates. We can handle pirates."
Okay. So you spend the next few hours in a cabin space that you've been allocated on the Storm Chaser, with the trunk of stuff that Percy's brought aboard for you and anything that you brought with you. And you start to get used to the crew of the ship and the comings and goings. And as sun starts to set, some of the crew members come back aboard and report to Renner. Let me just roll some dice for their investigation. 7, 6, 19. Okay. One of them had some success. One of the crewmen says that he was as instructed, loudly discussing their upcoming route and the valuable treasure that they've been specially tasked to move. And he noted that he was observed by someone fitting the description of Drella Voss at the Weeping Star Tavern. And Renner comes in and tells you that your story, or the idea that this ship's got a valuable cargo, has certainly been picked up, and there's a potential sighting of the quartermaster at this tavern.
Let us
Okay.
proceed and ask her questions then.
Absolutely. OpIon agrees with this is the information we've been waiting for. He'll tell Harold that he'll try and keep his mouth shut this time and not interfere with Harold's way with words.
Harold just does a long drawn out sigh again. It's just pirates. We can handle pirates. And moves on.
Okay. So you guys go to the tavern.
Johnny 5 will prep his flame cannon in advance, though, just as a precaution.
Yes. Remembering the last time that you guys journeyed to a tavern and that flame cannon annihilated a number of cultists in quick succession.
They formed an orderly queue in a cone-shaped area. It was most
It was
convenient.
convenient of them, wasn't it? All right. So you arrive at the tavern, and it's a fairly busy establishment, about sort of 10 minutes out of the dock ward, and certainly a large number of sailor types are present and jostling around. What's the next step?
Harold starts looking for Driller while trying to blend in with the crowd.
Okay. So you guys want to blend in with stealth? Does
Harold,
everyone want to
actually.
make a stealth? Okay, so Harold's going to make a stealth check. Anyone else got a different strategy, or are you all?
Johnny 5 is going to investigate for the scent of cloves and try to track it down to whoever smells like cloves.
Okay.
OpIon will try and make a sleight of hand check as well. He's going to head to the bar and is just going to try and pretend to be involved in his drink as much as possible and let the others take the lead on this.
Okay. So, stealth check from Harold, 19. And OpIon, 12. And you want to roll investigation for Johnny? 15 for investigation. Over a period of about 5 or 10 minutes, you walk around the tavern and you do find a dwarvish woman or at least a short, red-headed, bearded woman of dwarvish descent who smells of cloves, and she's sitting at the back of the bar with a cloaked and hooded man, and they seem to be deep in discussion. And Harold has largely disappeared, and OpIon is sitting at the bar in his drink, hopefully not attracting too much attention.
Going through the receipts from his pocket and again, that's
Yep.
what he does in his spare time.
Okay. All right.
Johnny 5 will use his signal brooch to indicate his finding to his compatriots.
Okay. Johnny, do you want to roll a stealth check? And I'll give you guys a map in just a second. I didn't have a tavern map lined up for this, so I'm doing that on the fly, as you do.
I'm interested to see how Johnny's stealth check pans out.
Perhaps entering this venue as a mechanical being who has no interest in fermented vegetable products was not a good idea.
And then looking around, taking like long intakes of air through your olfactory senses, and then spotting the dwarvish woman who smells of cloves, and then speaking into a sigil. It certainly attracted a bit of attention. And at this point, the cloaked hooded man turned to Drella and then point at you.
Okay. Harold. Okay. I think what Harold is going to do is that he realizes that Johnny's been made, which is not good. So Harold's going to quickly just scribble a note on a piece of paper saying, you're being tracked. For more info, meet us in the alley. Meet me in the alleyway behind the tavern, and then as he's walking through the table, walking past the table, quietly slides it to Drella and then leaves.
Okay.
And then he would try to cast a message silently back to them saying he's made a note. He's made contact and getting them to meet behind the tavern.
Make a deception check.
Okay, deception, and okay, so that's a 17.
Okay. And she rolls as you come towards the table and you see the hooded man has grabbed her on the shoulder and is pointing at Johnny. There's a loud noise, and Johnny and Harold make a dexterity saving throw with advantage if you're wearing the glasses.
Which in this time, the Harold definitely would be wearing the glasses.
Once bitten, twice shy.
Oh, exactly. So dex saving?
Yep.
So first one's 11, second one is 19.
Okay. So you both see or hear this loud bang as the cloaked man throws a flask at the floor, and a number of people nearby cry out in discomfort and being startled, and a bright flash envelops the room, but neither of you are affected by the blinding aura of this device that they have deployed. So you're able to see as they stand up, and the hooded man grabs Drella by the arm and waves his hand and mutters something as they disappear from the room.
Okay. Before they disappear, would I have been able to tell whether they believe the note or they don't?
You didn't get close enough to give your note.
Damn.
Yeah, with
Okay.
your so she rolled a 20 insight, and she saw you coming.
Okay. So are they completely gone, or are they just?
They're gone. He dimension doored. They're gone.
How does? What? I think just how this thinks. Just put his hands to his temple because I'm too old for this shit. I should have got retired years ago. Why did I let Eric pull me back into this? Then he sighs, gains composure, and goes, okay, so we lost him. Let's think about, looks like plan B, A, B, and C is failed. So what's plan? So let's regroup and think of plan D.
Looks like it's back to the boat then.
OpIon, sorry, didn't hear you for a second. Still can't hear you, OpIon.
My bad. Did we make contact? I've been too busy looking at my receipts. How did it go?
Yeah, didn't make contact. Unfortunately, they saw us coming a mile away and then dimension doored out of there.
Oh. Perhaps Percy will
Anticlimactic.
Perhaps Percy will have made some progress on trying to arrange some cargo for a storm chaser to take.
At this point,
And
there's a fair amount of commotion because a mechanical artificer type strode through the room, and then two people in the back threw some kind of pyrotechnic and then performed magic and disappeared. So there's a fair amount of sort of commotion amongst a group of sailors, and there's a bit of pushing and shoving and general shouting. So you decide to take your leave of the venue at this point and make your way back to the ship, where you're met on the top deck by Renner and her Goliath boatswain, who are standing watch. And she sees that you return empty-handed, and you're relieved that she doesn't seem to make any fun of you for this.
Have a powerful wizard in their service who has dimension door capability.
Yeah, okay. That's unfortunate. We knew they had some magic, I guess, with the fog and other illusions that have been a problem. and there's some reports of some monstrous tentacles in some of the attacks. But yeah, not aware that Drella has any magic about her, so maybe it was this other individual. In the meantime, your goblin friend has returned. He brought aboard several vaults of silks and some chests, which appear to have been borrowed from one of the local art galleries. And he assures me that it's all above board, and asked me to remind you that should any damage come to these things, that they're not insured in any way. And he did say the word priceless about at least one of the pieces of art that he's borrowed for this mission. So that'll be good.
Why did he not simply produce a series of crates marked with the seal of the Treasury of Waterdeep and nothing inside them? I will ask Percy this.
Percy is out of the range of your message spell. The carriage is not at the docks when you return. It's taken advantage of the opportunity to get away from the water.
Harold Harold goes to inspect the crate full of priceless art, and starts snooping through different paintings, getting a mental picture of each of them so he can make forgeries now that he needs a retirement plan.
And roll a history check.
History. Not terrible, 15.
You recognize one of these pieces of art as a forgery you previously swapped into a major gallery.
I was like, look, I'm surprised this made it here. Yeah, put it back in. We're like,
If we were of an unscrupulous persuasion, we might take the opportunity to avail ourselves of these treasures. Looks
25.
pointedly over at the crew.
Johnny 5, when did you learn moral flexibility?
I was purely speculating.
Harold just chuckles himself.
Renner looks not even offended by the statement. She's like, we are sometimes pirates, I guess. We might have some moral flexibility, as you call it, Mr. Chuggins. But I trust each woman on this ship with my life. So your artifacts are safe with us.
At least from your crew. Maybe not from the other crew. Time will tell.
So, having lost your lead on Drella and having circulated word of the valuable cargo and the route, you guys take the decision to set sail at first light for the port of Saltmarsh, which is about a 4-day journey. And Renner encourages you to participate in the activities of the ship as you feel interests you, and the crew are happy to teach you any particular roles or things of interest. Otherwise, you're welcome to remain in your cabin, wander the deck, and just not get in the way largely. And she'll let you know if anything is spotted.
Harold is, of course, going to play dice with the other pirates and gamble.
That's a good way to spend the first night.
Yep. And almost certainly he's going to cheat as well.
Yep.
Finn is to just enjoy the view from the front of the ship, and he notices a few seagulls. So he's going to take about an hour during his day to cast the Find Familiar. So he's going to have a bird as a seagull as a familiar from now on for the course of the voyage.
Very good. A familiar seagull perches on the railing next to you and looks adoringly and quizzically up at you.
Very nice. It's not going to have so fancy a name as Pickle, but we'll consider the name in a few hours, and we'll come up with one. And he's also going to write through his notebook and just jot how the wind is and the different tides and what he can see around him. He'll keep an eye out for what's going on just in front of the ship as well, if the need comes up.
Okay.
Johnny 5 will stand immobile near the front of the ship, pretending to be part of the figurehead, He does not need to breathe or sleep. He will simply remain there, and if the pigeons defecate all over him, that will only add to his disguise. Seagulls, rather.
There's a missed opportunity here for a Titanic type old me moment, but we'll come back to that. Okay, Harold, the first night at sea, you find yourself in a dice game with one of the gunner's mates, Weller, and the ship's carpenter and surgeon, Killer, and another member of the crew called Old Nettle. And you're playing for dice and having a reasonably good time of it. At what point do you decide you want to cheat? How are you executing the move, Dave? Nope, lost him. That'll be that hotel Wi-Fi. Give him a second to come back.
Sorry about that.
That'll be that hotel Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so I switched to data. So I'm good. Sorry. So last I heard was that Harold was playing dice first night.
You're playing dice with 3 of the crew members, and you were going to tell us how you were going to try and cheat the crew out of their money.
So what Harold was going to do was he was going to when it's ever his turn, he's going to use slide over. He's going to switch out the dice that they have with loaded dice, so that his rolls always go smoothly. And then as he picks the dice up to hand over to the next player, he switches the dice back.
Okay. All right. You can roll a sleight of hand check.
Let's have a look.
Against 3 perception checks.
Okay, let's see how we go. Okay. That's a 13.
So the first time that you try to swap the dice out, you roll the dice and it comes up with a favorable number for you, and you enthusiastically give yourself a bit of a cheer. And as you go to pick up the dice to hand them to the next player, the carpenter surgeon Killer puts a hand on yours and says, "We all have our own dice. If you want to play that game, then the outcome will be very different to what you had in mind."
Harold just chuckles and goes, "Can't blame an old man for trying," and then plays fairly.
Okay, all right. Very good. So you let me just do that one more. So through the night, you win 14 gold.
Yay. Okay.
All right. The next morning at dawnbreak, one of the ship's bells rings and breaks you out of your slumber, and you, with a number of other members of the crew who are on the day watch, have a breakfast that isn't terrible. Some dried fruits and some reasonably fresh bread and some cold salted meats and things of various kinds are shared for OpIon and for Harold, and Johnny stays at his post with a fey seagull familiar now perched on his shoulder because the bird doesn't like being below deck. And about an hour into the day, you hear the lookout atop the main mast of the ship whistle once and point off to the starboard side of the ship ahead in the distance. And you can see in the distance what appears to be at least a little ship, smaller than the Storm Chaser. And it looks to be on fire. There's a plume of smoke coming from this ship in the distance.
This sounds like a job for a familiar who can fly.
Yeah, Finn was trying to make out if there's any seagulls around the burning wreck.
There are a variety of seabirds around, so it would be, yeah.
Presumably the crew is alerted to this fact, but in the meantime, yeah, OpIon will send the seagull familiar just scouting around the burning vessel and about 100 feet in each direction of that, and then coming back. I can only communicate with it when it gets within
So you send it
Shoot
out
myself.
to do a couple of laps and report back to you. Don't suppose you've got seagull stats handy?
No, I don't. It was going to
That's
be like
okay.
a hawk.
Yep, okay. Let's just roll a d20 while I
So
do
if
the
it
magic.
is a hawk, it will have advantage on perception
Yep.
checks that rely on sight.
Yep, that's fine. We can call it a...
A hawk. Sure. And then perception is +4, so it's just a 10. A little bit of smoke gets in the way of things.
Sorry, guys. I'm not sure if I just dropped out then.
Sorry, who's dropped down?
I'm not sure if I just dropped out.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I
I think
might have missed
sorry.
what you were.
So the 6 + 4 for the hawk's perception is
Okay.
10.
So the seagull flies out and does a couple of loops and comes back to you and reports that the ship doesn't seem to be there. It seems to fly through what it thought was the ship and the smoke plume, and it wasn't there. It seems to be some kind of illusion magic.
Interesting.
Yeah, OpIon passes this on to both Captain and the rest of his party. It seems like this is our trap, and someone is setting a trap of their own. Shall we
Okay.
spring it?
True, and then sail in and spring this trap then, should we not?
I would agree. But before we do that, Harold looks in the water to see if there's any sea life that he can cast speak with animals with. Is there a shark, a dolphin? Hell, even he'll even accept a fish if it means that he can get an extra eye on in the water.
Yeah. So there is a range of sea life around. You cast speak with animals, and you manage to get the attention of a passing turtle. It's a sort of a big sea turtle that's broached the surface to have a breath, and you can call out to it.
And then so Harold just goes to the turtle, "Hey, old fella, one old fella to another, can you help us out?"
Oh, hello. Yes, I can help.
Can you help us find a ship that's a hidden ship that might attack us? We can't see anything, but maybe you could see something underneath.
A hidden ship. Oh, that sounds like a challenge. I haven't seen anything, but I'll keep an eye out.
Thanks, old man. And this does almost like a salute.
Okay. And the turtle swims off in vaguely the right direction towards the illusion. In the meantime, OpIon's communicated to Renner and the crew, and the bells that you're used to hearing ring through the ship for change of watch and various other things, they don't ring. Instead, there's a series of sharp whistles and other signals passed from crew member to crew member, and that a lot of the off-duty crewmen come to various stations around the ship that of the many boxes and crates and cargo that lined the vessel, a number of those are pushed aside to reveal hidden ballista mounts and other weapons, and they pass out knives and pikes and other devices along the crew, and then take positions of concealment along the deck. Renner looks down to the three of you and says, "Are we to spring the trap then?"
Harold just nods his head curtly. So let's spring this trap, let's get this over and done with, and then we can all go home to a nice bottle of wine.
Okay. So you sail, she whispers to her brother, and her brother turns the wheel, and you feel the ship list to the starboard side towards this illusion that's probably maybe a mile in the distance, and the sails pull tight, and you feel the ship almost accelerate underneath you. And as you approach, you get closer, you get maybe 300 or 400 meters away from this illusion, and you hear voices calling out from below, from the surface of the water. You see a small rowboat with three men, 3 humanoids aboard, waving for assistance. And the rowboat pulls alongside the storm chaser, and they grab onto the rope netting dangling down the side and look up at the captain for permission to come aboard the ship. And she looks at you guys and gives you a look that you understand to mean that this is likely the early boarding party of the Moor pirates. And then she gives them the command to come aboard.
Fionn will move about 40 feet away from where they're currently climbing on board. Just so he's not in the immediate greeting party, and he'll be using his seagull to above the ship and keeping an eye out for any other approaching vessels.
Okay. Make a perception check, Fionn. And what is Harold doing?
Harold would have positioned himself in the bird's nest up above so he can get a good bird's eye view, but also try to hide. I would have tried to hide in an area as well so he could attack from a position of surprise.
Okay.
So the 18 with advantage from 3 plus 4 is 22 for the perception.
So 22 for perception. Harold, make a stealth check with advantage for your hiding. And Johnny, any preparation that you're doing in these last few moments?
Johnny hopefully has his goggles on, and he's waiting for the moment to set fire to the rowboats so he can cut off their escape.
Nice.
Okay. So Harold, 18, beyond a great perception roll there. Okay. So you see, Fionn, you notice from a distance, you can see the outline of a ship in the distance behind the storm chaser, almost a reverse bearing from the illusion of the burning ship, almost the exact opposite direction. And you can just make out the shape of that vessel at a distance. The 3 men climb aboard, and they come over the side rail in the session, and I'll put some tokens down for you guys.
This isn't something we could have prepared for in advance, and so Captain Renner would know that this is likely happened to go down. So the crew, would they try to grapple and restrain them as they came on, or is that?
So we can certainly retcon that, because you certainly would have had plenty of time to discuss the plan. In the absence of a specific plan from you guys, you're of the understanding that at least once this has been tried before, and if all 3 aren't taken at the same time, they somehow pass a message back to the main ship and the trap is foiled. So the storm chaser crew planned to allow all 3 onto the ship and take them simultaneously and immobilize them in whatever way they could.
All right.
So there are a number of storm chaser crewmen on the deck in various positions, some sort of hidden and some going about their duties. Now, you guys will get a surprise round here before we roll initiative. So these three humanoids climb over the rail of the ship. What are you doing?
Harold, as they all reach onto the end of reach onto the ship, Harold will then fire off a short bow at one of them fire off an arrow.
Okay. So as the third so as they've all made it onto the deck of the ship, you fire off an arrow. Go ahead and roll to hit.
Okay, because I was hidden, do I get? Where does that? Where was I hidden?
So you get with advantage because you weren't
Yep.
seen.
So that is a total of 20 to hit.
So that definitely hits.
And then I get to roll first 1d6 damage. So that's 6 plus 3 is 9, and then sneak attack damage is an extra 8. So a total of 17 piercing damage.
So you fire off your arrow, and one of the pirates climbing over the side, it takes him in the shoulder, and you see him visibly keel over with that impact, but not down, but not.
Okay. And so it says here, I have Vex. If I hit a creature with short bow and deal damage to the creature, I have advantage on my next attack roll against that creature before the end of my next turn. So I already got advantage sorted for that.
You do.
Now I'm then going to chuck my last set of ball bearings at them to cover the area where they're standing. So that what would you? And I'm gonna just double check what it specifically does. So that's my as a bonus action. They spread. So the ball bearings spread to cover a level 10-foot square area within 10 feet of myself. A creature that enters the area for this first time must succeed on DC 10 dexterity saving throw or have the prone condition.
Okay. So
Essentially, I
need
just
to make a dex save.
Yep, of 10, which isn't much, but it should hopefully slow them down.
Okay. All right. OpIon and Johnny, your surprise round.
OpIon is going to step back even further and try and get behind some cover, and then he's going to wait his turn.
Okay.
Where is their boat situated?
So it is just off the south, I guess the bottom side where they've boarded. I don't have a rowboat to put in there for you. Draw something. Little tiny rowboat off the side there.
Johnny 5 is going to make his way along the side of our ship, along the port side, and then he's going to use his flame cannon and burning hands, the rowboat.
Okay.
I don't want fire on board our ship, of course.
No, fair.
Out of range?
No, let me just... What's your movement?
Movement is 30.
Okay. Yeah, so that'll get you to about there, and then the range on your...
Burning hands is 15 feet.
And the flame cannon is also 15 feet.
Okay.
You have
so
Firebolt. Firebolt also
range,
does
probably.
set things on fire.
I'm out of range of my cone attacks, aren't I?
Yeah.
Okay, time to firebolt the boat. What
Okay.
good it'll do.
It is a small dinghy, so go ahead and roll that. Yeah, 23 definitely hits. And your magic energy, you see this bolt of flame erupt from Johnny, and the little rowboat that was below that these three pirates scrambled out of, as they climb over the edge, and one of them takes an arrow to the chest. The other two duck as these sort of flaming embers and shrapnel fly away from the exploding rowboat that's gone.
Sinking boats.
Okay, and OpIon wasn't gonna.
Actually,
Your
no,
surprise
can
round
take
was
this
sort of step
opportunity
back.
to
Yep.
say that violence has ensued to remember back to when he was young and got trapped in an ice cave. So there's going to be sheets of ice now surround him, and his body is going to be reflected in it multiple times. He's going to cast mirror image. On
Mirror
himself.
image. Okay. All right. And now let's roll initiative.
It's a 22 for Harold.
It's 18 for Ian, and if any of the party wish, he can trade places with them.
Same with Harold, actually. They really made the alert. They really weakened the alert feat. I've noticed.
Yeah, it's a bit sad.
Yeah. Probably for the
Okay.
best, though.
All right, so Harold, with your 22, your first arrow flies down and strikes the pirate in the chest. At the same time, their little rowboat explodes underneath them. Beyond start to shimmer as this is all unfolding. All right.
Harold immediately fires, looses a second arrow at the pirate he just hit.
Okay. Roll
Right.
to hit. You're hidden. You can
Oh
roll
no,
with
I'm not hidden
advantage.
anymore, but I still get advantage because of Vex.
He
on
doesn't
visual.
see. He doesn't see you. Yeah, but you've got advantage either way.
Advantage roll. What? Wow, 2 2s. That's a 7 to hit.
That does not hit. Second arrow just flies into the railing.
So then Harold will then use his hidden action, his cunning action to hide.
Duck down in the crow's nest again. Ready to fire the next round.
And that's better. It's a 19. That's turn.
Okay. OpIon.
Opion's going to look at the injured pirate. He's not down yet. Is that right?
He's not. He looks pretty hurt, but he's not down.
Alright, obviously you're going to have the memory of the biting and icy cold winters and the aching joints that slowed everyone down, and he's going to cast Frostbite at the pirate to try and give him some cold damage and slow him down a little bit. So that's +5 to hit. And that's a critical hit. So the damage is 4, and a roll again. So 5 points of cold damage, and the joints in this pirate's legs stiffen up, and he's got reduced movement for the next round.
He's got permanently reduced movement because he drops unconscious, covered in these magical scales of ice that are starting to grow all over him.
And then if there's a pirate that's going to be within 30, then he's going to try and move to a more optimal position, so he's trying to stay out of range of any melee pirates.
Yeah, the closest pirate is 40 feet.
So he's going to try and increase that distance to 50 feet. Not use all of his movement.
Okay. And that brings us to Renner, who is atop the top deck of the ship. And Renner, at this point, pull out a crossbow, just a simple hand crossbow, and take aim at the boarding pirates. And she fires. As soon as I work out what has gone wrong with my action screen there it is. Her arrow just flies slightly off. She's aiming for the guy who went down, and her arrow flies through the air that he was standing in until he fell unconscious and misses. And so she jumps the banister of the stairs, slides down. It looks like a really cool action move, and makes it to just about here with her movement. And then the pirates have the initiative. Only being 2 of them, they look at each other and they start to separate. They look back at their rowboat behind them, realizing it's completely blown to smithereens, and one of the veteran pirates has fallen within seconds of boarding the ship in this surprise attack. They are in fact in melee. Well, this guy's in melee with this crew member, so he can't run for the other side of the ship. But the second pirate makes a dash to the far side of the ship, where you surmise he's trying to get a line of sight to the ship that's following you. So he'll make it to there, and with a dash action, he'll get to the edge of the ship. And the other guy is going to make a melee strike at the crewman. This is the carpenter. So the carpenter that you were playing dice with, Harold, is engaged in a brawl now with this pirate.
Isn't he also the surgeon as well?
He is, yes, he's the carpenter and surgeon. Yep.
What happened to do no harm?
Yeah. It didn't take a lot of oaths as the carpenter / surgeon on a semi-illegal smuggling / pirate boat. The pirate swings with a short sword at the carpenter, but the blow is parried. The carpenter does seem to have pretty quick hands. That is their turn, which brings us to Johnny.
Johnny doesn't have any safe ways of preventing that other pirate from communicating with the ship. He's got the flamethrower version, but that'd be bad for our ship, wouldn't it?
It does appear to be a mostly wooden ship, yes.
What a design oversight. Okay, Johnny will simply
walk. This was carefully considered.
Johnny will simply amble 30 feet towards the escaping pirate, and he's going to try and use poison mist on him.
What's the range on your poison mist?
It's 30 feet. Sorry, poison spray.
Yeah, poison spray. Yeah, you'll just be in range, and that hits. Go ahead and roll damage.
How disappointing.
A 2.
Okay. Action, movement, anything else up your sleeve?
I could activate the flame cannon, but that would be bad for everyone.
Fair. Okay. Which brings us to the crew's initiative. So the carpenter strikes back at the pirate veteran. The bosun moves over to engage the pirate veteran as well. Renner, it's not her move yet. These two crewmen move to engage this guy who's trying to signal over the side of the boat. And let's roll some dice. Okay. And some damage dice. So the carpenter lands a firm blow on this pirate down here, and you can see him wounded but not out of action. The bosun, who also struck the same pirate, also strikes true with his halberd, and you can see this guy is looking pretty grim. This guy, they have grappled him, so they've both grabbed him and pulled him down so that he can't signal over the side of the ship, and they're currently holding him, so he's grappled. And the other crew members will remain at their posts for now, unless there's something that comes up for them. And that brings us back to Harold at the top of the order.
I think you may
Brings us back to Harold at the top of the order.
Hello. Sorry if I was away.
No, you're back. Just now. Time. Stuff happened.
Harold. Yeah, stuff happened. Hotel Wi-Fi dropped out. It's fine.
Yep.
So Harold would then loosen a bow against two people who against. Is there only two remaining pirates left?
Yep.
Okay. He will loosen a bow at the one that's being pinned to the floor, hoping that he can get knocked, hoping to silence him once and for all.
Yep. Now,
So
he's not,
I think that's
prone, but he doesn't have. You don't have disadvantage. He's just grappled.
Oh, cool. Thanks. That was going to be my next question. So rolling with advantage. So that's a 16 to hit.
That hits.
Okay. And I'm going to do 1d8 plus 3 damage. That is. So that's 6 plus sneak attack damage of 7. So 13 damage total.
Okay. So your arrow strikes this guy who's being wrestled, and you see him take a pretty significant belly wound, and there's blood he's starting to cough blood, and he's resisting the crewman holding him much less than he was, but he's still conscious.
All right. Harold will then just use his bonus action to hide. So let's do stealth again.
You roll that stealth. OpIon, you're up.
23.
Yeah, you're like a ghost.
Yeah, OpIon wondering out loud if he's gonna not waste, so he's gonna use a sleep spell or try and kill this pirate. I'm not sure what the best course of action.
So they both look very unwell.
And they're both, how close are they together? Or
They're at opposite sides of the ship.
And the one that's
Yeah,
closest to
You
being
get me with the
signaling.
cone attack one time. I put you on a wooden vessel and separate the villains.
I don't have any cone attacks, and I don't want to explode people over the ship as well. I think I'll try and do the Ray of Frost against the one that's being grappled. It's at risk of signaling.
Yeah, go ahead and roll for that.
Pray that it's a good roll. So that's
That hits.
just a 2. Again, the cold bristles on him, and his joints start to ache, and he's got reduced movement.
Yep. He's feeling that early morning arthritis, and you look at him and he looks terrible, but he's still just barely clinging on.
And hopefully I'm not going to be too annoying with familiar, but I'm going to use my familiar to give the help action to the next time. If I was making an attack action, the familiar will fly down within reach of the grappled crew person, and Johnny will be able to have a advantage from the help action.
Okay. All right. Which brings us to Renner, and she fires her hand crossbow and actually does something meaningful this time. And we roll the damage. You see this guy, the pirate that's engaged with 2 crewmen just where he came over the wall next to his fallen comrade. You see that pirate go down in a heap and he's not moving anymore. And Renner turns, looks up at the crow's nest, gives a little jaunty salute to the sniper hidden above, and she starts to move towards the grappled pirate. Now comes to his move. He's grappled. He's going to try and break the grapple. He rolls a 16 against the crew, who roll a 5. So you see him shake off the crewman holding him, and he reaches into his pocket and produces what looks like a little mirror, and that's his action to use an object. And none of the rest of them are alive. And then you see the 2 crewmen who are wrestling him realize that he's got this mirror loose from his pocket, let go of wrestling him, and they both simultaneously strike him with short swords, and he crumples to the ground, dead. Oops, not the Storm Chaser crewman. This guy falls down dead. So we're out of initiative. 3 bodies on the deck. You saw this pirate get the mirror out, but you're not sure what the significance of that is, whether he was able to pass a message to the vessel in the background.
Harold would go down to the body where the mirror was and see if he can find any sort of notes on him or parchment or instructions about the mirror for signaling. Like 1 flash says it's safe, 2 flash says no, back off.
An investigation check.
Okay. My investigation is terrible. Yes, please. Thank you very much. Harold will roll it with advantage. Give me 1 second. Which is good because the other one was a 7. So I got a 13.
Okay. Sorry, go.
Sean, I don't know if it's metagaming, but you did go in the chat that there was the flashing of the lights. Presumably that would have been in the dossier. About
Yes.
2 and 1 flashes. Would that have been in the dossier, or is that
It was
knowledge that we
in the
don't-
dossier. No, it is in fact knowledge that you have. So you remember that there is a sequence of flashes that seems to be a signal And that seems to be a signal of safety, that 2-1-2 pattern from what you remember. The mirror itself just seems to be a simple mirror. So there's nothing magical or exciting about it. And on searching the pirate, you find a fairly well used short sword and a fairly well used short bow, and two what look like alchemical flasks similar to the flashbang that's been thrown at you previously, but no instructions or parchment or ID or anything of any particular value.
All right. Sorry, from memory, it was green
Still
light
useful.
that was flashed, and at the same time, can my seagull go aloft and see if the ship is still approaching, or is it maintaining a distance?
So the ship seems to be maintaining its distance for now.
I'll let my colleagues know we did the readings and the sequence of flashings, and I think it's up to you guys. Do we do nothing, or do we do this sequence of flashing, which is in the dossier?
It pays to have someone that actually reads this material, actually, it seems. So yeah, let's do the flashing. Let's do the flashing and try to set up our own trap.
Okay. So you remember the sequence of flashes, and so you go ahead and you make that 2-1-2 pattern, and a moment or two later, 2-1-2 flashes of green light returned from the vessel, which the seagull communicates to you that it seems to be closing in. So you've got, you estimate, probably 2 or 3 minutes before that vessel is close aboard. If you want to do any further preparation or hide bodies or whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Hiding
So it's
bodies
good
is
to
probably a good idea.
Yeah, or dress up some of the crewmen in the bodies of the pirate. At first glance, it appears things are going well.
Yeah.
Harold can hide in the crow's nest.
Yeah, so Harold remains in the crow's nest. OpIon gives a shouted command to some of the Storm Chaser crew to quickly adopt the outer robes and hats and garb of some of the boarding pirates, and the bodies of the pirates are quickly tipped overboard, and other crew members take up hidden positions. A couple of crew members sit against the mast as if taken prisoner.
Yeah, and the stories from the survivors were that the ship attacked using some sort of ranged weapon before closing, or
It varies. So certainly the Bloodmoor pirates do have, it's a heavily armed ship, but often the boarding crew is successful in disabling the vessel so that they don't have to fight. They can just come alongside and board with overwhelming force and get what they want.
and try and tell Captain Runner that if we wait until the last possible moment to fire the ballista, they may think our ballista has been disabled. So
Yep.
we do it within closing boarding speed and then release whatever ballista is loaded.
Okay. All right. So she passes some commands along to her crew with whistles and clicks and taps on the deck, and the front of the ship, two of the timber panels on the deck, which had previously been closed and covered with cargo, open to reveal these sort of heavy ballista type weapons, and another panel at the front of the ship opens with a small cannon, and some gun ports along the side of the ship are slid open. So the ship is brought to a fully battle-ready situation. Anything else that you guys want to do as the ship approaches? You've probably got about a minute.
Johnny 5 will position himself along the side of the ship that the other ship is likely to come up alongside, just so he can broadside it with the flame cannon. If he gets a chance.
OpIon will move so he's within 40 feet of the side of the ship, so he doesn't want to get too close, and then realizing that his mirror image from the previous encounters failed is going to have that ready to go as one of his actions when initiative starts. Harold, have you got any more of those ball bearings we can load on the side of the ship closest to the boarding?
I'm out of ball bearings, but I do
Yeah.
have caltrops.
There's still a fair amount of ball bearings just rolling back and forward across the ship as it lists in the swell.
If we can spread some of the caltrops on just close to the side, the guardrail.
Yep.
Oh, we can do that. And Howard just tosses the bag of caltrops down. Catch.
And the crew start to throw those out. Other crewmen spreading a bag of, they've got some sandbags and they're spreading sand across the deck to improve grip and purchase on the deck during combat. And them loosen the ropes on a number of other bits of cargo and equipment ready to be pushed as barricades or improvised weapons as need be.
OpIon would definitely like to get behind one of those barricades if possible.
Yeah, sounds like a very reasonable plan. Okay. And so at this point, this big, fairly substantial, it's probably slightly smaller still than Storm Chaser, but it's taller, it sits out of the water higher and appears to have a number of decks, and you can see bristling with weapons. For the age where cannons are relatively rare, this ship appears to have probably 20 guns. It's painted in a deep sort of brown and black motif, and as it comes closer, you can see a toothy shark emblazoned on the front of it. And you can see a crew of heavily armed sailors, pirates, lighting the rails of the ship and hanging off the ropes and the nets. And as it pulls alongside, they throw boarding planks across the deck to send their crew onto the ship. And I'm just going to roll some insight quickly from their perspective and deception from
Are they
ours.
wearing any goggles?
They are not wearing goggles.
Yeah. Good to know, because I still have 2 of these flashbangs.
That is convenient. Yes, you do have 2 flashbangs. So they seem to be satisfied that their crew is in charge of the situation and come alongside and throw their boarding planks across. So this is the scene as we see it now. Thinking. So as we see it, there are four men come charging across the gangplanks to board the Storm Chaser. So if we can all again roll for initiative.
That's an 8.
Harold was having a snooze.
Howard was having a
OpIon
little
is-
signature.
Saying
OpIon
that.
is happy to swap with anyone that wishes with the 18.
If OpIon is happy, Howard would love to swap with him, so that way he can chuck flashbangs down and get their first wave blinded.
Yep, done.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, that's you guys swapped around. All right, which brings us at the top of the order back to Harold.
So as Harold sees these 4 pirates trying to board the ship, he's going to toss one of his newfound flashbangs down to try to blind them. Now, with the flashbangs, what is what is the actual reading of the item?
So it seems to be a relatively simple throw it, and when it breaks, it causes an area effect. So from the crow's nest, it's a thrown item, so I guess 20 feet is probably a reasonable range, which, yeah, you'd probably get to the edge or the side of the ship if you want to deploy that. You don't need to roll to hit, that's fine. I'll just, which group are you targeting, the left or the right?
I can't actually see what's on the board. It just says, OpIon, Johnny 5, can you see the board?
Yes, we can. I
I
can.
can't.
Oh,
It says your DM has paused the game session on my screen within the stream.
blind you. Okay, so based on that, I would probably just I can't see which group is going for. I'd just probably go for the closest one.
Yeah,
And
sure.
I'm
Okay.
hoping and I'm just
They're
using
gonna roll
fast
deck
hands
saves.
so I can use it.
Yeah. So this is a bonus action.
Yep,
That's fine.
so they're gonna roll deck saves. Yep. So they're gonna roll deck
Yep.
saves if they're blinded or not.
Yep. Okay. So you throw the flashbang, it explodes loudly, and there's this flash of bright white light that takes in a couple of these boarding pirates. You're not sure if it worked or not. You've got action
Okay.
still.
And there's a second boarding party as well.
Yep.
So just from what I can see them, so I see one's coming on one side of the ship. Is the other one from the opposite side of the ship or same side of the
No,
ship?
so you guys are being boarded just from one side of the ship. Let me just get you I'll get a link.
The port side.
Okay, the port side. Oh, port is left. Sure. Okay. Could I use my action to throw the second flashbang at the second boarding group?
Yeah. I'm just going to in the StreamYard chat, I'm going to just post a direct link so you can bring the map up, because
I can actually see it now. I've opened it in my own window. I was using the StreamYard chat before.
all right. So you throw the second flashbang at the other group. So I'll roll some dex saves for those guys. Okay. And that brings us to Renner. And as these guys start jumping over the side of the ship, Renner takes her action to command the ship. And you hear a series of loud explosions as the ship's hidden guns all fire at once. And given that the ship is broadside at advantage, yes, and the cannons do 46 points of damage to the Bloodmoor flagship, and the ballista aimed and ready to fire on the crew turn. And that brings us to Johnny.
Johnny is going to position himself at the front of this Congo line of targets. He's going to kneel down, and he's going to try and angle his conic fire effect so they can hit both pirates 3 and 4, as well as hopefully catch the mainsails.
Well, go ahead and roll.
Okay, and it's going to be, I think it's DC 13 to avoid getting hit for the dudes. I don't know how you're going to go about that when you're on a gangplank.
And
Let's
also,
say
if
for
they're
a-
blinded,
Yeah, if they are
does that
blinded,
mean
they
that
would
they
have
automatically-
disadvantage.
is it disadvantage or is it they would just automatically fail?
They had disadvantage to avoid the effect, unless, yeah, it's not like they're grappled. They could still hear him, or if they're not
blinded
completely
condition.
blinded.
Like I'm looking at the blinded condition and it says you can't see and automatically fail any ability check that requires sight.
Yeah, I guess if you said it
Yeah,
required
that's
sight
fair,
to avoid it, it doesn't matter. They failed anyway, even with disadvantage,
okay.
even with
Yeah.
advantage, without advantage. So go ahead and roll damage.
I've rolled the 2 attacks.
No.
It didn't come up on the list.
11 and 8.
That's correct.
So that guy's dead. And so one of the pirates charging over the gangplank just is incinerated into a crisp. The other guy takes the full front of this flame cannon, and you can see his clothes are alight and his garments are smouldering, but he keeps charging forward. And you can see flames are starting to lick up the mainsail of the Bloodmoor. Anything else for your turn, Johnny?
That'll be adequate.
Okay. Brings us to the pirates' initiative. And on their initiative, 2 pirates swing across on ropes and dismount onto the ship. And the pirates on the gangplank charge forward. This guy is in melee with Johnny. This guy is to engage some of these crewmen here. And you can hear come onto the gangplank a figure, a sort of blue-skinned, heavily tusked orc wearing thick battle armor. And this matches the description of Grindr, the head of the boarding party and one of the more vicious members of the pirate crew. So you see him come onto the gangplank. The two of them are going to strike at you with short swords. Neither of which hit. Did you re-up your mirror image?
I did say I was going to do that, but
Yeah, that's fine.
Didn't have.
It doesn't matter. They don't hit you. Either of them. They charge across the ship, but they're surprised by a flashbang exploding unexpectedly at them, and then seeing one of their crewmates incinerated by some kind of Terminator robot.
Good. Yeah.
They are unsuccessful. These crewmen are going to fight down here, and I'll resolve those rolls as we go. And that brings us in the order down. Crewmen are going to fight. Crewmen are going to fight. That brings us to OpIon.
I just wonder, DM, if you can tell me if the 1, 2, and 6 are within a 15-foot cube of one another.
Yeah, let's say for argument's sake they are, because he swung onto the ship and I just arbitrarily placed him. So yeah, they probably landed pretty close.
They can be within three squares away from each other, but I'm going to use.
They were close enough to strike you in melee, so they were there.
So I'm going to use a first level spell slot, and OpIon's going to remember the time in the deep of winter when the tree trunks sometimes exploded and shock waves of ice and snow used to push everyone away from the tree. And he's going to cast a thunder wave. So I'll need a DC 13 con save from those three.
DC 13 con save, okay.
From all three of them. And then if they fail it, they're going to take 7 damage and be pushed 10 feet away from me, and if they succeed, they take 3 points of damage.
Right, so they all fail horribly. So remind me again, what was the effect?
So the effect is they take the full 7 points of thunder damage, and they're pushed 10 feet away from me.
7 points of thunder damage and pushed 10 feet back. 7 points of thunder damage and pushed 10 feet back. 7 points of thunder damage and pushed 10 feet back.
And the Ian is then going to use his movement to move his 35 feet walking speed and try and get to the other side of the ship away from the crew members. And as a bonus action, command his seagull, which he's not hugely fond of, to assist either Johnny or Harold with their attacks, which means I'll have to get close to the enemy.
Yep.
So the next person will get advantage on their any attack.
Okay.
So movement action, bonus action, and OpIon is done.
Okay. Back to the top of the order, Harold.
Okay. So just give me a second. I'm just going to check the screen, what's around. Now, I see someone left on the ship near the steering wheel named Reggie. I wouldn't know his name is Reggie, but does he look important?
Reggie's a bird.
Ah,
It's a parrot.
Okay.
Important to a pigeon fan.
Yep. Yep. It's an unusual looking parrot.
okay.
You find it vaguely
Yes.
interesting.
All right. So instead, Harold is going to concentrate his action on Grindr. Now, he means the person, not the app. But there's no shame in going on Grindr.
Yeah. Roll
Okay.
for Grindr. Yep.
Roll for Grindr. Okay, so let's roll. So that's 19 on the die plus 5 is 24 to hit.
Yeah, that hits.
Okay, let's do sneak damage. That's 6 plus 8 is a total of 14 piercing damage. And I have advantage on my next attack against him.
Okay.
Yep. And then, so, well, where did Grindr go? no,
He's
still there,
back.
sorry.
No, yeah, yeah.
It's all good. And so they should still. I'm going to then use my last set of caltrops. Oh no, it's too far away to throw. That's fine. I'll just hide,
Okay.
and that's
You're
my turn.
in.
Yeah, 17 will do it. Should do it.
Okay. Which brings us to Renner. She's going to use her turn again to command the ship. And the cannons fire again, dealing another 40 damage into the ship. And the ballista turn and target crewmen in the sails and the nets of the other ship. And one of the ballistas fires wide, but the other one strikes one of the pirates hanging in the net, waiting to jump across. And you see him just hang limply from the rope that he was preparing to swing across from, impaled on a giant ballista bolt. And so that's Renner's turn.
Johnny Five could prioritize his own safety and attack the guy next to him, but he's got a mission, which is to incinerate the entirety of the enemy ship. So what Johnny Five is going to do is he's going to ignore the person who will take an attack of opportunity at his back. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's going to try and position himself near the next gangplank in such a way that he can use birdie hands and flame cannon both at Grindr and at the front set of sails.
Very good.
I assume he gets an attack of opportunity from number 3 unless he's still blinded.
No, 3 wasn't blinded. The blinded guy's already dead.
Okay.
The other guy does get an attack of opportunity, and I will roll for that while you roll to your... He does actually hit you with his short sword. You take 5 points of damage.
Oh dear.
And then you deal 25 points of damage.
But they get to have their DC 13. Oh, Glad gets DC 13 dexterity check for half.
He rolled a 2. So he takes 25 points of damage. He's heavily armored and he's a big dude. So you see him take that damage and the damage from Bro previously, and he looks more angry than hurt currently.
Oops. Do the sails look?
And that there's further damage to the foresail and some areas of the ship's deck also seem to have taken some damage from your flame.
That's it for Johnny Five. He's
All
down
right.
2 out of his 3 spell slots.
I wonder what spell is going to cast to its third one.
All right, that brings us to pirates. So number 5. Where even is 5?
I haven't seen 5 on the map.
Yeah, interesting.
Did you kill him?
5 is dead already.
Yeah, it could be.
Oh yeah, no, he was the one who was swinging from the... Was he the one swinging from the ship?
He might have.
There was
Yeah,
6,
yep. There's 5. He's in amongst the storm chaser crew. So he's going to fight those guys. 1 and 2 are going to come across to Johnny Five, who keeps trying to light their ship on fire. 6 is going to close up with his crewman here. And 3 is going to join 5 in battle. I'm going to roll all those attacks momentarily. And then Grindr comes charging across into melee with Johnny Five as well. He swings out. He's got this giant halberd-looking sort of thing, like a big glaive. And he swings and misses Johnny's AC of 18. Just misses, swings completely over the top as he's trying to put the singed bits of his armor out, trying to combat being hit with a flame cannon, completely unprepared for this degree of resistance from the ship that he's boarding. Which brings us through the storm chaser crew. They're going to fight it out for a bit. I'll roll those dice in a minute. In the meantime, it's OpIon.
Yeah, OpIon is going to see Johnny 5 being surrounded. He's going to see Grinder with his big armor, which you described before. He's going to think that Grinder's not really going to move at the moment, so he is instead going to use a first level spell slot and cast Magic Missile. So there's going to be 3 glowing darts appear from his hands and just bypass Grinder's armor and dig deep into his flesh.
Yeah, they all hit.
So it's 3 on the dice. Sean, do you want me to roll 3 different times or just multiply that by 3?
Nah, 3 by 3 is fine. So he takes 9 damage.
Yep.
Okay. Now
And
he's starting to look more hurt than annoyed.
yeah. So the bonus action, OpIon is going to command the hawk to again fly to Johnny. Are you going to make an attack roll or possibly a saving throw for the next action?
Johnny's probably going to. You mean in terms of against the enemy?
Yeah, in terms of would you benefit from the help action from my familiar, or is it Harold going to be the recipient?
Help Harold. Johnny's going to be
Alright.
fine.
The hawk's going to fly up and
Harold already has advantage.
okay, pester. Oh, he's going to help Finn's next attack roll and
Sounds good.
Grinder. And OpIon is quite happy where he is on the far side of the ship, so that'll be the end of their turn.
Okay. Which brings us down to Harold.
Okay, so Harold will once again target Grinder. He's hit him before, so already has advantage from that, plus this sneak attack. So let's roll sneak attack. So let's roll an attack with this guy. So that is. No, wait, sorry, wrong one. Oh, no, it's still, either way, it still works out the same. First one's 18. Second one is 8. 18 hit.
It does.
Okay. That is 4 plus. And sneak attack damage, so 14 piercing damage.
And you see this orc who's charged across. He's been hit with flame cannons and several arrows, and he's taken a few faltering steps, and then he goes down on one knee as you strike him again with your arrow, and he stays down because actually he's not. It's not undead fortitude. It's orc resistance, so he gets back up.
He goes.
Sorry, he gets back up. Yep.
Yeah, does it? I was gonna say.
Yeah, he's got
zombie.
Gets back up onto 1 HP.
I was gonna say, Sean really must love his zombies.
Yeah, sorry, he's thinking zombie, but no,
Okay,
it was
good.
just an orc.
Okay, and then Harold will hide. Stealth.
Harold's going to hide. Okay, Renner's going to command the ship. The ship fires all of its cannons again. Johnny 5, it's your turn while I roll some damage against the ship. Ship takes another 20 points of damage.
Johnny
The
5 is
bullets
going to
fire.
use poison breath on Grinder. So poison spray. Oh, not a good roll.
So that misses.
Yep.
Should have taken that advantage.
Should have. And then Johnny 5 is going to fire his flame cannon again at some of the rigging on the other ship.
Okay. All right. 14 points of damage against the ship's rigging. You can see now that what looked like a very imposing ship on the way in is now riddled with cannon holes and has not even its cannons haven't really responded yet against the storm chaser, and its mainsail and its foresail are both alight, and it looks like it's suffered a reasonable amount of damage to the ship that you are engaged with. And at this point, some other figures on the deck. Another pirate swings across into the netting of the mainsail of the storm chaser just near the crow's nest where Harold is. And the parrot come flying over towards the ship's crew, the ship's captain. And 2 other figures appear on the deck of the Bloodmoor. One, a tiefling, a blue-skinned tiefling in robes that look like they're made of seaweed and kelp. And you see a minotaur, tall and imposing minotaur, again wearing a breastplate of obsidian black and carrying a great axe. And he thunderously yells across the entire scene and says, "Surrender or die." And you get a bit of a chill. All of you get a bit of a chill down your spine when he yells. It's just this unnatural sort of response. So he's going to charge forward. She's going to stay where she is. Grinder is going to swing at Johnny 5, which does not hit, even with a +6. So he's now fairly enraged. He's going to swing again and miss. The other pirates with him are going to also stab at Johnny with their short swords. And they miss and miss again as Johnny just dances around. Johnny has evidently been studying various forms of martial arts, a bit like that thing from The Matrix. I know Kung Fu. He's just dodging these and parrying these blows from 3 aggressive pirates who've got him surrounded. The other crewmen are all going to fight it out. And the guy in the netting is going to scramble down to Harold in the crow's nest. And he's going to take a swing at you, Harold, with a short sword. He also misses, misjudging your position and size in the crow's nest. He swings over top of you and his short sword clatters in the netting and the rigging there. And I'll resolve the rest of the crew combat in a second while OpIon tells us what he's going to do.
Yeah, OpIon has seen Grinder go to one knee and then heroically get back up again. So he is, with the help of his seagull, shoot some icy darts in a ray of frost against Grinder with advantage from his familiar. So that is a critical hit, and that does 2d8 damage, equaling lovely 10.
All right, 10 points of damage against Grinder. This time he stays down.
And movement-wise, is going to try and get a better angle on these 2 other people that have appeared on the other side, on the other crew, on the other ship. So he'll just move a little bit and give up his turn.
Okay, which brings us all the way through the order to Harold.
Harold sees this new pirate swing and a miss, so Harold's going to take his own swing. Attacks of the hidden rapier. So I had a stealth check of a 23 before, but he must have, if he attacked me, he must have seen me. Anyway, let's just say 11 to hit.
He found you by happenstance. He swung into the crow's nest, or like he's trying to get into the crow's nest, and you were there. So you definitely hit him. And sorry, 11, did you say? No.
Yeah, 11.
Yeah, 11 misses. I thought I heard 23. That was the stealth roll.
That was a stealth.
You can roll with advantage. You can roll with advantage because he was arguably not sure where you were.
Nah, I think he would have seen me, so I don't think that would have counted as advantage, which is fine. So then for my bonus action, I think I'm going to stay where I am, and then do I have any items? No, I don't. Okay, I'm just going to stay where I am, and then use a bonus action to skills. I think I can, is it disengage or something?
Yeah, so disengage, you can move away without provoking your opportunity attack.
Dash, disengage, or hide. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to... Yeah, I can't grapple him either. Wait, it says here... No, yeah, I can't do anything, so I'm just going to stay there. And that's my turn.
Okay. That brings us to Renner. She is going to fire the ship's guns, and it's Johnny's turn in the meantime.
Johnny's going to use his poison spray at one of the adjacent pirates. Let's go with number 1.
That hits.
Oh dear, how disappointing. He'll shuffle slightly in position over to here, and he'll try to activate the flame cannon so he can hit that important-looking person about to cross the gangplank, and hopefully get the sail again. I'm sure aggroing a lot of people. Oh, disappointing as well.
Does it have to roll to hit, or it's a deck save? Apologies.
Deck save 13.
Red Jaw's going to roll a deck save. +3, yeah. So he takes half damage. 2 points of damage. Okay. So the Minotaur, you can see his just takes a momentary pause and nearly successfully dodges your flames completely and just gets slightly singed, which brings us, in fact, to his turn. Redjaw is going to charge onto the boat and probably look towards the captain. 2, 3, not quite make it. And then the remaining pirates are going to keep fighting various crew members. 1 and 2 are going to strike Johnny with their short swords. They both hit, actually. That's exciting for them. They haven't hit you yet. And they cause the grand total of 5 points of slashing damage. They're going to fight it out. The guy in the netting is going to... What did you end up doing, Harold, at the end of the last turn? Did you dash or disengage or something to get away?
No, I didn't do anything. I didn't do either. So I was hoping to dodge, but dodge is not a cunning action.
He rolls a 20 to hit you with a short sword.
Bad decision by me. All right. So
he causes 7 points of damage. 7 points of slashing damage with that hit. I'll resolve the rest of those hits. Under is dead. Crewman. Zelda is up. You see the tiefling woman on the far deck, and she starts to mutter and points across the deck at one who is miles away. Let me just make sure this is going to work. And she's going to move 10 feet because you are...
Sure.
There you go. And she's going to send an Eldritch Blast towards OpIon.
Alrighty. Against my AC 12.
21.
21 will hit, and
You
I'm
got-
going to use shield.
Not shield. Did you have mirror image?
you would have.
We didn't really clarify whether I'd cast that or not.
Yeah, let's say you did. You said that you would have had preparation time, so that's fine.
Right.
So is it a D6?
It's a D. I'm not sure what the new one is, to be honest. Yeah, roll a D6. If any of the D6s rolls a 3 or higher, one of the duplicates is hit instead. I'm happy to roll. It's a 3. So
You
that
take 7
means
points of damage.
one of the duplicates takes the hit
Oh,
instead
no.
of me.
One of the dupes. Okay. All right. So the duplicate disappears. Okay.
Yeah. So there's one left.
All right. Dion, your turn while I resolve some of these.
Sure. OpIon wishes that he had something to fight back with, but he doesn't have the range. He does have magic missile, but instead he's going to do something which is hugely ineffective in the last combat. He's going to use his 3rd first level spell slot and cast Sleep on Redjaw. He's going to move within 60 feet of Redjaw, and Redjaw is going to have to make a Wisdom 13 saving throw, and Ian is thinking of putting images in Redjaw's mind of freezing cold and him just wanting to curl up and fall asleep.
Okay. Now it's changed, hasn't it? Because it used to be like
Yeah,
all
so
hit points.
it used to be 5d8 and the hit die, but at the moment it's a DC 13 Wisdom saving throw.
Okay, DC 13. So he has
And
plus
there's 2 stages.
3 to his wisdom. So let's roll 14.
Alrighty. So he's within 60 feet of Redjaw now. I don't know if it's possible to move into partial cover from the Eldritch Blaster in the other ship.
It would be, but surmise that the way that she was able to pinpointly accurately hit you, that she's a spell sniper.
All right.
So she would ignore any cover that you have.
Okay, so I'll just stay where I am, then I'll move back to where I was before. And then bonus action will be to help Harold with the next attack. So they're going to move close to Red Jaw.
Okay, so I'll move the hawk closer to Red Jaw. All right, back to the top of the order. Harold's had a heart attack in there.
Harold is frozen. Harold got hit by a sleep spell instead.
That D100 finally rolled. No, there you go. 23 definitely hits. 7 damage. So the guy who's climbing through the nets towards Harold is skewered by the cane rapier, and he falls unconscious. And a turn completely performed in silence by Harold. There, Dave? You okay? And Harold is hidden again. That's the degree of stealth. You can't even hear him. Which brings us...
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Oh, yeah, no, there you go. No, we worked out what you were doing the whole time. That's fine. You hit and killed that guy and you've hidden again. Johnny 5, you're on deck. Renner's going to fire the guns again. So, Johnny, you're up.
Johnny's in trouble. That's 3 live pilots next to him, isn't it?
Tis. And the area effects...
He can't simply set fire to everything either because it's our ship.
The ship has a lot of hit points. Don't think there's anything immediately like explosively volatile in your range, but
Johnny is going to chance some attacks of opportunity to move here, thereby positioning his opponents in a coned configuration. Did they manage to polish Johnny off before he makes the maneuver?
Let me just roll some to hit. Wow, so one of them completely misses, but the other one seems to know what you're doing and strikes out with his short sword and causes 7 points of slashing damage.
Johnny's down to his last 7 hit points. His last spell slot. He lines up his burning hands and his flame cannon. And he's going to chance a bit of damage to our ship. Burning hands trying to hit those 3. Does that take them out?
One of them fails their deck save, but it doesn't matter, I'm pretty sure, because that kills all of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And I'll conserve my flame cannon for who's worthy of a flame cannon shot. I really don't want to get your Zelda shooting at me. Or Redjaw. Do we have healing potions?
You each have 1 potion of superior healing from the last mission.
Okay. Are they a full action or a half action, bonus action?
It's a bonus. It's a bonus to drink. That's fine.
Okay. Can I use mine? I don't know what dice we roll for it.
So superior healing potion.
44 plus 4.
Is
plus
8. 84.
84.
84 plus 8.
So what's that roll? 20 plus 8?
8.
So
28.
Yep, 28. So now I'm back to full health, and I will start positioning myself. So I've already moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm edging towards your Zelda.
Okay.
And the rear mast. And that's my turn.
Okay. Redjaw is going to charge the captain because she's the one who's fucking up his ship mostly, although in fairness, Johnny is certainly causing his own problems. And he's gonna swing his giant axe.
Every
and
problem is flammable.
Renner takes 8 points of damage. And bonus action, he's going to swing with the other end of his pole arm. So Renner takes, as you see, Renner just take 2 big hits from this great axe as this Minotaur is just screaming. And the pirates are going to take their turn. So there's a bunch of dead pirates. I'm just going to clear off the board, and crew members that are going to just disappear just to help keep the map simple. That's all the dead people. And Grinder needs to go. Okay. So that leaves us with that. Okay. All right. Red Jaws had his turn. The Storm Chaser crew are going to try and defend their captain. They're going to swing and both miss as they're just almost in fear of this giant Minotaur that's swinging at them. And Isolde is going to... She starts to mutter, and you see an area of the ship just becomes pitch black. You can't... It becomes completely impossible to see anything at the top of the deck. That whole area just disappears into magical darkness. And it's OpIon's turn.
OpIon is going to be brave and move his 35 feet so he can get a little bit closer to Isolde, the other spellcaster. Hopefully it's close enough. Not quite close enough. He is going to, let's say, hold his action and cast Ray of Frost if any enemy comes out of the darkness, and will position the seagull fly closely and provide the help action to the next person that attacks Isolde.
Okay. Which brings us to Harold.
Oh, that's also excellent timing because Harold wanted to attack Isolde, and so now he has advantage, which is lovely. Thank you very much, unnamed Hawk. Right.
I had called it Stephen the Seagull, but it occurs to me that's now Stephen Hawking.
Oh my god, that's genius. That's genius. It has to be Stephen Hawking now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Why is every NPC in a D&D game named Steven?
Steve the Seagull. That misses.
Yeah, both. Yeah, so that's 2 misses.
You were
9
hidden.
and a
You
7.
rolled 20. I was going to say you rolled 27 on your stealth, but oh yeah, okay, that is 2.
Yeah, it's 2. So yeah,
Okay.
Harold misses, and then he's going to hide. I feel like combat is very repetitive. There's a lot of repetition for Harold at the moment.
Harold.
Yeah.
I'm tired, guys. This is supposed to be my retirement job. Renner is not going to be able to fire the cannons because she's engaged in melee, so she's going to swing her rapier at Jaw. She misses. She clangs off of his armor. She's going to offhand, and that misses as well. Which brings us to Johnny.
How fragile does the other ship look? Does it look at the very brink of falling apart?
It looks pretty bad. It looks like it's not in a good way.
We've got to gank the mage. Johnny is going to board the other ship, trying to get as close as he can to Isolde.
This is the bit of the game where Johnny becomes the captain of the ship.
Am I now
the
within
only
15
person?
feet of Isolde?
Yeah, let's say 15. Yeah.
Oh, good. So it turns out if you are a magic initiate, and you also get your spell, first level spell from that. My first level spell is Burning Hands. So I do have a secret spell slot tucked away. I'm going to use that, and I'm going to try to cleverly angle my cone so it doesn't hit our friend. And it's DC 13. Dex save.
And she rolls a 5. So she takes 11 damage.
And now for the flame cannon. Again, DC 13.
Nope.
Is she resistant to fire on account of being a tiefling?
That is a good question. And I'm glad that you bring that up because, yes, she is, which is... It's good because that would have been pretty bad for her. So what did that mean? It's 11, so that's actually halves and 7 damage. So 3 points of damage. Okay. She looks unwell, but still standing. Is that your turn, Captain Johnny?
Is it possible she will have to...
I'm more suitable to be a science officer than a captain.
You may be the ranking person on the ship in a minute. Sorry, what did you going to ask something?
Is it possible she'll have to make a concentration check?
Actually, is it two
dark-
concentration checks?
I feel like darkness is definitely a concentration spell, isn't it? So
It is 100%.
let's roll some con save, so she's okay. All right, which brings us to Redjaw. You can't see, so stuff's happening. Yzelda, she's gonna let go an Eldritch Blast at Johnny because he's close. The 12 does not hit. So she fires, but she misses, having just been near incinerated. And her ship is starting to crumble around her. There's bits starting to fall out of the sails and the netting and stuff. She's starting to look a bit panicked and not sure what she's going to do, which brings us to Ophie.
Ian is going to target the only thing they can see. No advantage, but there's going to be another icy shard shoots out for Ray of Frost. Straight roll of 16 versus AC.
For Yzelda, that hits.
So she's going to take some cold damage of 5 points, and everyone's got arthritis at the moment. She's getting a gammy leg, and her speed is reduced by 10
She
feet.
looks terrible, but still alive.
Bonus action is Stephen Hawking is going to provide advantage to the next attack against Isolda, probably from Harold.
She's got a roll of con save. She crits, so that's fine. Okay, so
Nice.
she's still maintaining that darkness. Which brings us to Harold.
Harold looses another arrow with advantage. Oh, wow. And that 20 and a 1. So 25.
Yep, that hits.
Okay, let's double. Then now let's add all this dice up. Oh, it automatically does the 2d6 for you, but as well. So let's see. First one is 7. So that's a total of 7. That's 7 plus another 2d6. 5 is 12 plus 3d6. And 10. So that's 22 piercing damage.
This is all Yzelda.
Yep.
This is Yzelda that you're hitting.
Yep. It's the only one I can see.
Yep, she's dead.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she is.
She just that last arrow, just as she's fending off this ice blast and the fire cannons and everything else that seems to be pummeling her, as her crewmates are all laying dead around her and her ship is crumbling. She's skewered by an arrow. It pins her to the deck, and this ring of darkness fall. And as you do, you can see Renner is engaged in hand-to-hand with Redjaw. Both of the other crewmen are dead. The bird familiar Reggie disappears. And it is Renner's turn. She's just going to swing Redjaw. Johnny, it's you're up. Captain Johnny, now, being the only person you can see on the deck of that ship.
Johnny is well out of range of his flame cannon, so he's just going to position himself to drop the occasional firebolt onto Redjaw. Miss. And that's his entire turn.
Kind of flies overhead. Redjaw's going to swing at Renner with his great axe and misses, and he swings with the backhand side and hits. And the halfling reaches, she swings out her rapier and deftly parries this last blow, but she looks pretty unwell. She looks pretty badly hurt, but she's able to push away some of that damage using her sword skills. Which brings us to OpIon again, because there's now very few people left in the initiative order.
Yeah, OpIon doesn't have any second level spell slots left, and he's had a raging success every time he's tried to cast sleep. So he's not going to do that. He's going to move within 60 feet and just shoot another icicle out. So that'll be 5 to hit against, so 20 plus
That
5 hits, so
hits.
22 on the dice, that'll hit. And poor showing on the dice. 2 damage of cold, and his old injury to his knee flares up again, and he's also got reduced movement.
Okay. He's older.
Stephen is going to fly 60 feet over to Red Draw and provide advantage to the next person attacking, presumably Harold.
Okay. Harold, you're up.
All right, Harold attacks with advantage again. Jesus.
Hashtag rogue.
Actually, that's not bad. Hashtag rogue. 15 to hit.
I hide,
12,
I
12.
shoot, I hide, I shoot. 12 does not
I
hit.
know. Okay, then Harold will just hide again.
Okay.
That was sleight of hand. That's better, 30-20. And that's Harold's turn.
Okay, Renner is going to swing. Swing, better swing. No, she's not. She's going to do that first because beyond 20 is being a bitch. That hits. She does 1d6 plus 5 damage.
Once you go down.
11 damage to Red Jaw. Red Jaw's looking pretty grim. Renner's looking pretty grim. It's Johnny 5. You're up.
Is Red Jaw within 30 feet of Johnny 5?
Oh, no.
All right. Johnny 5 is going to cast Mind Sliver. It's a cantrip.
Intelligence
And
save?
it's, yep, intelligence save in check 13. I know I'm typecasting the Minotaur here.
That is hurtful, but he does in fact have +0 to intelligence. So he rolls a 16.
Oh, okay, so he's
Wow.
safe. Never mind, he takes 0 damage.
That would have probably finished him off too. But it's now his turn. He's going to hit back against Renner. So
We need Renner alive. No one knows how to sail the ship without him.
Captain Johnny
Two
does.
ships.
oh, he misses.
Ooh.
Swings the glaive humming with this sort of dark energy that you hadn't seen before, and the glaive just passes right over her head as she ducks and does a little barrel roll, which brings us to OpIon.
Ian is going to use his final first level spell slot and cast Magic Missile. Feeling a little bit guilty that Captain Renner's done most of the work. That's an automatic hit, and it's again 3 9 points of force damage.
Okay, 9 points of force damage. He's looking pretty unwell. We're back to Harold.
All right. Harold's going to attack with his short bow again. I was hidden, so I should still get advantage, right?
Yeah, it's fine. He can't really see you currently. He's on account of trying to murder the captain.
What the hell is this? I've been rolling dog shit. I've got like a 2 and a 3, so I have 8 to hit with advantage.
Yeah, nope.
You just need to roll lower so you can re-roll the 1.
I know, right? Okay, so that just goes. Yep. Then I hide again, and that's my turn.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Renner is gonna swing. Here we go. This
Renner, bring it on.
This could be. Nope. She's in parrying off that last strike. She's just knocked a bit off balance, and she stumbles and mistimes her next strike, so that misses. She'll try and offhand with her dagger, which also misses. Which brings us to Johnny.
Johnny's actually, yeah, Johnny will do another Psych Mind Sliver. Intelligence save DC 13.
All right. Saves intelligence. And give me some damage.
Okay, you're going to suffer to the tune of 5
It
points of damage.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He has 1 HP. He's down. They both him and the captain have 1 HP. They've been swinging at each other on 1 HP for 3 rounds. As he prepares to strike again with his great axe, he just suddenly doubles over and he reaches and clutches his head as blood starts to come out of his ears, and he just falls, face plants forward onto the deck. And that's it. The guns go silent. There's the occasional moan of a burned or bleeding or mostly burnt pirate, but it seems like you've managed to completely subdue the crew of the Bloodmoor, and there are still a handful of Storm Chaser sailors alive. Renner pops a health potion, and the crew start to secure the bodies of the downed pirates, and particularly the senior ones. And Johnny makes a quick assessment of the Bloodmoor ship and decides that it's unsalvageable. It's likely to sink without immediate repair in the very near future. So you probably have some time to quickly investigate that. If, as a group, you want to roll investigation check, just so I can see how much loot you recover from the pirate ship before it sinks. And we're going to call it there.
That's a 10 barrel.
Oh, heavens.
Got your glasses.
It's all the arthritis.
Oh, yeah.
16, 10, 16. Okay, all right. I will drop the loot in the post-game story, and you guys are going to sail back home to Waterdeep, licking your wounds, but knowing that you have vanquished a difficult enemy and made the seas safer, and begrudgingly earned the respect of a tiny halfling who seems to be a useful ally. All right. Let's stop there. Thanks, gang.
Thanks very much, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
No worries. Thanks for taking me sideways into a map that I hadn't prepared. Like 6 other maps, but not a tavern. But it's okay. I'm going to get to reuse the pirate base for something else. But I'm saddened that there was not a repeat HR manager performance.
I was hoping to play
There's always-
Hal, the retired quartermaster.
Yeah, there's always next session. All right.
Yeah,
I'm going to turn the recording off there. And recording. And